Hey, it's PawPaw Time, and today we're going to read a special book. It's called Goofy Troop, The Great Expectations, because PawPaw's goofy. So let's get started. We're going to read the book a little bit fast because it's kind of long. It says, "It's not fair," Max grumbled. He was standing on the shore of Fossil Lake, where he had just freed the wild duck that had been his pet. His father said he had to let the pet go. Poor Max. His father never liked the pets that he brought home. He had to let the little duck go. Just then, Max noticed that there was a big, large pink and purple thing. It was a giant egg. "But where's the mama?" he said to himself. Max looked around for a large bird, but he didn't find one at all. It wasn't a bird in sight, so he decided to take the egg home. "It needs me," Max declared happily, lifting the big egg. When he got home to his dad was cooking supper. "That you, son?" Goofy called. Hi, Dad," Max said quickly as he hurried through the kitchen. He struggled up to his room with the egg. "I won't tell Dad about the egg yet," thought Max. "But wait until I show PJ." Max called his best friend and told him to come over right away. PJ lived next door. PJ was shocked when he saw the egg. "If that thing hatches, that bird is going to be huge," he exclaimed. "Will your dad let you keep it?" "I hope so," Max replied with a sigh. To keep the egg warm, Max covered it with a blanket and earmuffs. Then he and PJ went downstairs to eat. PJ was staying for supper. While Max and PJ were eating, strange things started to happen to the egg. First, it began to shake. Then, it began to crack. Then, finally, a big, scaly green head poked out. "Gronk," said the creature. Bit by bit, it began to break out of the shell. When Max and PJ went back upstairs, they couldn't believe their eyes. "It looks like a baby dinosaur," PJ sputtered. Max was so happy he had a new pet. "Gronk," said the dinosaur. PJ gulped. "I'm out of here," he said, dashing for the door. "Good luck, Maxie." Max patted the baby dinosaur. "I bet you'd like a bath," he said gently. "Let's sneak you into the bathroom before Dad comes up." "Gee, I wonder what I should name you," said Max. As his new pet splashed in the tub, "I bet you're a boy dinosaur." Just then the baby dinosaur ducked his head into the water and started blowing bubbles. "I've got it. I'll call you Bubbles," said Max. "Now if only I could figure out how to tell Dad about you." Late that night, Bubbles left Max sleeping in his room to go exploring. Soon he poked his head into Goofy's room. Goofy was snoring so loud that the windows were rattling. Bubbles crept closer to the bed to see what was making that noise. To Bubbles, Goofy looked just like Max. When he saw Goofy, he gave him a big friendly lick. Goofy slowly opened his eyes. "A monster!" Goofy screamed, seeing Bubbles. He leapt out of his bed in terror. As he jumped, a lamp fell and broke to the floor with a crash. "Arp, arp," Bubbles whimpered as he was scared by the noise and the commotion. The noise woke Max up. He rushed to Goofy's room to see what was going on. "Stay back, son," Goofy warned. "Don't hurt him, Dad," Max cried. "He's my pet." "Your what?" yelled Goofy. Max quickly told his father the whole story about Bubbles. Then he begged to keep him. But he's some kind of dinosaur, son, said Goofy. He belongs in a museum or in a zoo. I'll take good care of him, Max pleaded. I promise. Finally, Goofy gave in. Aw, shucks. You can keep him as long as he stays out of trouble, he said, and doesn't get too big. Max beamed. No problem. I mean, how big can he get? Well, in no time, Bubbles grew very big. He loved food, especially marshmallows. Finally, Goofy had had enough. He's eaten 1,000 bags of marshmallows, 400 cabbages, 10 houseplants, and a remote control, Goofy said with a groan. Sorry, son, but we just can't keep him anymore. And it's not fair to keep Bubbles cooped up in a house like this anyway. Max knew his dad was right. Okay, he said sadly. I'll take him back to Fossil Lake tomorrow. Late that night, while Max and Goofy were sleeping, Bubbles woke up and wandered outside. He was hungry. He found a tasty shrub at PJ's front yard. Munch, munch, munch. Bubbles chewed it so loudly that Pete woke up. Pete was PJ's dad. Who's out there? Pete shouted from the bedroom. Max and Goofy heard the noise too. They ran outside and saw Pete chasing Bubbles with the broom. PJ was up and chasing his father. Max was scared. Dad, we gotta save Bubbles, he cried. Goofy had an idea. He and Max jumped in their old jalopy and took off. Goofy headed straight for Fossil Lake. But Dad, Max shouted, they went the other way. Don't worry, said Goofy as he zoomed down the road. Meanwhile, Bubbles ran until he was trapped in a dead-end alley. Gotcha, Pete growled. You miserable monster. Don't hurt him, PJ begged. He's just a baby. Suddenly, they heard a terrifying roar behind them. It was a dinosaur as big as a house, and Goofy and Max were on top. Bubbles, meet your mama, said Max with a grin. The giant dinosaur lowered her head and nuzzled Bubbles on the cheek. Where did you find her? Asked PJ. I figured it was an egg at the lake. There had to be a mama somewhere, Goofy said proudly. Peter looked dazed. 2 dinosaurs in one night was too much for him. I'd better get Dad home, said PJ as he led Pete away. Later, Max and Goofy watched as the 2 dinosaurs swam off into the lake together. Max, you took good care of Bubbles, said Goofy. I'm proud of you. It's time you got a real pet. Great, said Max. How about a boa constrictor? Maybe a tarantula. A tarantula? Goofy choked. Now that just a gosh darn minute, son. And that's the end. But before we go, I want you to remember that Jesus loves you and PawPaw does too. Bye-bye, guys. We'll see you next time. PawPaw loves you. Have a good day.